10th. Could I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Here.
Councilmember Barber?
Present.
Councilmember Berenson?
Present.
Councilmember Burke?
Present.
Councilmember Serko?
Present.
Councilmember Holman?
Present.
Councilmember Kellogg absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Present.
Mayor Turnbow?
Present. As we rise to do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, as we're standing, would you please join me in a moment of silence for the loss of Deputy Aaron Paul Roberts out of Greene County, Missouri, who was swept away in floodwaters just the other night. It's a tragic incident that we all have to be aware of when we have these rain events, and even police officers aren't protected by some of that because he drove into rushing water that was not necessarily always there, and was swept downstream, was able to call it in, but eventually lost his life. And so we'd like to remember him with a moment of silence. If you'd all please rise tonight. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda tonight is presentations and awards. We have a couple of proclamations I want to give out tonight. The first will be in recognition of Constitution Week. And tonight we are lucky to have 3 chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution. We have the Prairie chapter out of Lee Summit, the Mary Sibley chapter out of Harrisonville, and the Little Blue River chapter out of Grandview, who are with us tonight. If those representatives could please come up here, I really appreciate it. I know it's a large group of you here tonight, but if you could all come up at the same time. I have 3 proclamations, and frankly, they all read the same, so I'm just going to read one of them if I could to you all. Oh gosh, I forgot my glasses.
Oh no. Mayor? Mayor?
Oh, thank you. And the proclamation reads tonight, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government and a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Christopher P. Turnbow, Mayor of the City of Raymore, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17 through 23, 2018 as Constitution Week in the city of Raymore, Missouri, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Raymore to be affixed this 10th day of September 2018. And ladies, thank you all for being here tonight. Denise, I will thank you. And another chapter, and here's my 3rd chapter.
She's back here.
Oh, here, okay.
Thank you
You all. Oh, yes.
The Prairie Chapter of Lee Summit would like to give the city of Raymore a certificate of appreciation. You have honored us with a proclamation for several years, and this is the least we can do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And all of your folks are
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank
I will
you.
let them know.
Thank you
Do you
very
want to let
much.
them know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you let them know that? Because it's here in
And
town, isn't it?
Yeah, and everybody here.
If you
Um,
say
next
it in
Monday.
use the microphone.
The microphone, hello.
I get a microphone. Next Monday, September the 17th, which is the official Constitution Day, we will be bell ringing down at the St. Paul's United Methodist Church with 55 of their little children and their pastors to celebrate this great day. And you are all invited, and we do hope that you will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Oh, you do? Okay, all right. Who's taking the picture? Oh, you've got it right here. There we go. You wanna hold it up? Hold on. She's got to hold it up. Thank you.
Could we get a picture
Oh,
with you also?
absolutely, absolutely.
You're a popular man.
You're very popular.
I have one too. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much.
Let me on one side. Okay. Whoops.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our second proclamation tonight will be for the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we will be presenting this to the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club. I know that we have several members on our council that are members of that club. If they'd like to join me, and Janet, Denise, if you all would like to join me up here. You know, childhood cancer awareness is something that really does deserve to have the recognition that it has. Many other cancers are recognized on a regular basis because as we get older, those cancers are more prevalent. Childhood cancer itself, well, we don't necessarily feel the effect unless we have a child or a grandchild that is affected by that. And so we really do appreciate the Optimist Club, the Raymore Peculiar Optimist Club, in bringing this attention to this particular problem. And the numbers are staggering. Let me read those to you. It says, whereas cancer is the #1 disease killing children today, and whereas each year in the United States more than 15,000 children between the ages of birth and 19 are diagnosed with cancer, and whereas childhood cancer spares no one, affecting kids from every socioeconomic background, and whereas the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club sponsors Camp Quality for Children with Cancer and is dedicated to ridding the world of childhood cancer, and whereas a first step in eliminating any disease is being aware of the situation, circumstances, and issues involved, now therefore I, Christopher P. Turnbull, Mayor of the City of Raymore, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. In the City of Raymore, and support the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club in working to bring awareness within our community to this deadly disease, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Raymore to be affixed this 10th day of September 2018. I really, Jan, thank you for asking me to put this together. I know we've done this in the past, and I just read the other day that there are over 450,000 children that are in treatment right now for cancer in the United States. It's an unfortunate number of children, and every year 15,000 more are diagnosed. So we really appreciate your efforts, Camp Quality's efforts in taking care of these children and giving them an opportunity to play and have fun for 1 week out of the year. And I know that there's another charity that I work for that donates to Camp Quality for that, and it really is a great organization. We appreciate your Optimist Club supporting that. So thank you very much. Very good.
I would like to say that our
You wanna
club
talk
went,
to the microphone?
our club went up to Camp Quality during their week of camp this year. I think we had 9, 10 of us that went and helped them celebrate their 25th year of letting kids be kids again. Thank
It's
you.
a great cause. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Now we're the section on our agenda for staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make a report this evening for community development.
Thank you, sir. I want to advise council on several upcoming Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. We have a number of developments that are going to be considered here over the next several weeks. Next Tuesday, September 18th, the commission will consider the proposed Raymore Industrial Park. This is the development, 136 acres there at the North Cass Parkway interchange, a proposal by the Van Trust Real Estate Group. Well, they're proposing to, the property is currently zoned industrial. They're proposing to reclassify the zoning in order to get a little bit of flexibility in their design of the site. The same meeting will also consider the actual site plan for the development. We had a good neighbor meeting a couple of weeks ago where we presented this to interested residents. Then the following evening, Wednesday, September 19th, we'll have a good neighbor meeting for the Lofts at Fox Ridge project. This is the proposed apartment community in Eagle Glen on the acreage, 25 acres just north of the Eagle Glen Elementary School. And then we'll follow that up on October 2nd. We'll actually have the public hearings for the rezoning, preliminary plat, the final plat, and the site plan for the Lofts project. So a lot on that agenda for the commission to consider. And then their following meeting on October 16th, they'll consider the third phase of the Timber Trails subdivision. So this would be the development just to the east of Dean Avenue, would basically connect two stubbed roads to complete that part of the Timber Trails development. So we're excited to see that project move forward as well. That one has about 42 lots in it. So they've been out of lots in Timber Trails for some time. So it's good to see that activity pick back up. So quite a bit of development activity occurring for the Planning Commission to consider. So we're excited about that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions? Ms. Abdel, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I'm curious, is that third phase of Timber Trails the last phase, or is there more of that?
There's a lot more than
there a lot
that.
more?
It's the last phase if you went on the east side of Dean Avenue. So it'll actually get the trail that right now stops. It'll get it connected up to Johnston Drive. So it'll be a nice loop in that neighborhood. They have a lot of land to develop on the west side of Dean.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. I would ask Captain Wilson to make a report for the police department.
Evening. Chief Zimmerman's not here this evening, so you're stuck with me. We commonly refer to the 3 minutes that she would have here as 3 Zimmerman minutes. I will be doing the Wilson 1 minute. So,
Life in your hands.
we've discussed many times, or the chief has, about the numbers recently with stealing from autos. Everybody's seen the weekly report for the past couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and they have decreased. That's great news for us, but at the same time, we all need to be vigilant. We all need to keep watching, because what happens is, I believe that the community has kept their eyes open and called us and told us when they see suspicious activity, and that's great. We want them to continue to do that. We've arrested a few people here and there. We get intel on people, and then the folks know that we're out there watching. So where do they go? They go to the communities adjacent to us or up in the metro. Everybody's been watching the news. It's happening all over the metro area. So when we displace folks, what's going to happen? They're going to get displaced back. Now, one of the things that's going to help us keep pushing folks back out is the fact that we did just release a couple more officers off FTO program. So that puts 2 more individuals out in a car without doubling up. So that gives us more eyes out on the street. Again, the community, our interaction with the community while we're patrolling, getting information on suspicious activity, that's great stuff, and we encourage the community to keep providing that to us, because without the community's help, we're not always going to be around to catch these folks in the act. And it's real-time reporting. If the folks go on social media and type on social media that, this happened 24 hours ago, that's not real time, and that's not the formal way to report something. I mean, it's good information. I mean, we would like that information if that's the only way we're going to get it. But at the same time, we want folks to go ahead and call us, make the report, and let us know what's going on in the community. Obviously, we have several officers that go to Neighborhood Watch meetings. I spoke to an individual tonight about Neighborhood Watch. We discuss those type of things at those meetings, at the community meetings. And so is there any questions? I mean, I know it's pretty short. It's not 3 minutes, and it probably wasn't a Wilson minute, but no questions?
Thank you, Captain. And part of that vigilance is, too, for people to keep locking their doors on their vehicles, keep the garage doors shut, things like that. They're common sense, but
time and
you
time
need to keep
again,
doing it.
I believe Chief Zimmerman's come up here and give the report, asking folks to lock their doors, don't leave valuables in their car. Folks need to continue to do that because the valuables that they leave in plain view, even if their door's locked, they're going to break the windows. We want folks not to be a victim of opportunity here. We want them to get the valuables out of their car, lock their car, don't leave the keys in the center console, get those keys out of that center console, and make sure the vehicle is secure.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Mr. Sokra.
Yes, Captain. One thing I would say I really like, since I've lived in this neighborhood, it's happened 1 or 2 times. I left my garage door open, and they knocked on my door at 1:30 in the morning. I got up, what's the matter? You left your garage, well, make sure you get it shut. I really appreciate that. I hope they're still doing it. I think they would be, and I think everybody would rather be woke up at 1 or 2 in the morning because they left their garage open by mistake. Like you said, with people walking around and driving around the neighborhoods, and I appreciate officers doing that.
We try to be throughout the city all night long. Obviously, somebody's garage door, they may come home and we not get it. So, we're still out there doing those things, but I would caution the community to make sure that their garage door is shut as well. I mean, we're going to come by and we're going to tell you that your garage door is open if we see it. If we don't see it, we can't tell you. And that's where, the neighbors come into play. When neighbors see something like that, they really need to call their neighbor and say, hey, your garage door is open. If my garage door was open, I would want my neighbor to call and let me know as well.
Anyone else?
Thank you, sir. Chief Zimmerman would be proud of you.
No, she would.
Yes, she
would want me to go on and on.
That's it.
I'll be refereeing that one for a while, I have a feeling. As you've heard from Chief Zimmerman probably 1,000 times, 2 phrases, hard target and see something, say something. And it's about that simple. Thank you, Captain Wilson. I would ask Mr. Eakey to make a report for the Communications Department.
Thank you, sir. 2 just very quick items. Hopefully at your place you found our newest giveaway item, a magnet that hopefully will land comfortably on your refrigerator door, finding all the needed and necessary numbers. Also, as a reminder, we'll be giving these away not only here at City Hall, but at the Farmers Market. Tomorrow, Ward 2 will be represented at the Farmers Market. We'll be out there handing these out, as well as hopefully some tote bags with the Raymore logo on it as well. Second item, we need to schedule our group photo for council members. Looking forward at the calendar going through October, we do have a busy month, but would like to ask if there is a preference on whether we take the group photo before a work session or a regular council meeting. The community conversation will be on October 1st. Didn't know if there was a preference before that. I know that's going to be a pretty full night, so I didn't want to add anything new then. October 8th being the regular council meeting, and then the 15th, the work session. If there was a preference on either of those dates, I would be open to any of those, really any of those.
Go ahead.
I prefer the regular meeting, not the 8th would be nice. I think most of us come in dressed up, the ties or suits, and just a dress down type of more casual on the session night or the work night. So I'd like, if the 8th's available, I would be for that.
Anyone else? Sound good to everybody? Okay. Thank you, Mike.
We will just get together about 15 minutes before on October 8th, and we'll have the group photo, and Melissa will be here to take that.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Abdelgawad had a question.
Not really a question. I just want to say that we will be at the farmer's market for the next 3 weeks, right? And
Correct.
so if someone can't make it this week, they can come and find Ward 3 there the following week and Ward 4 there the last week of the month.
throughout the
I just
rest
wanted
of the
to point
month.
that out. in
And
case anyone was-
we'll have the magnet giveaway for the remainder of the month, as well as the tote bags and other items promoting the community conversation on October 1st at 6 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike, for
Thank
helping
you.
us organize that.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Just update on next week's work session, 7 p.m. 3 items currently on the agenda. The first item that we will be addressing is the council's, what shall I call it, mini community conversation. As you know, KU likes to come here, talk with the council, get some direction from you, where you're at, your flavor. It's kind of like a little teeny tiny retreat on that. We have 2 items on the back end following that conversation. We will be making the presentation to the council that you requested on the command vehicle, and following that, we will have the open budget discussion. That concludes staff report this evening, sir.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir. We have no committee reports tonight, so that takes us to the consent agenda. We have 4 items, I believe, on the consent agenda this evening, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of the consent agenda or portions of that.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda to include item A, City Council minutes, August 27, 2018. Item B, Memorial Park improvements, acceptance and final payment. Item C, 155th Street Culvert Project, acceptance and final payment. Item D, Raymore Activity Center, audio video, acceptance and final payment.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7 yes, 1 absent. Now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3387 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3387 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending various sections of the Unified Development Code.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3387?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3387 for the 28th Amendment to the Unified Development Code.
And I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3387. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7 yes, 1 absent. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3385 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3385 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bright Construction LLC for the Owen Good Force Main Valve Replacement, City Project Number 18-312-201, in the amount of $29,760.
Thank you. I know there was a lot of great discussion last time on this item, but I would entertain a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3385.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3385, award a contract, Owen Good Force Main Valve Replacement Project.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3385. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, 1 absent. The next item is our sidewalk on undeveloped lots. We have 3 items under that particular item that we will address each individually. As we move forward this evening and discuss each of those segments of sidewalk, I would entertain a motion to dispose of each of those items separately. Lacking a motion to dispose of that item will not bring that forward at a later date. So I just kind of wanted to explain that up front on those 3 items. So the first item is the Edgewater at Creekmore Third Plat, Lot 80, 1116 Lake Crest Drive, Carrie Doak and Robin Boyd. And I will open the public hearing at this time and ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make the staff report.
Thank you, sir. If I can, Mr. Mayor, just do a real quick overview of the program and then get into the 3 specific
That'd be great.
hearings.
Thank you, sir.
Because the overview covers all 3. On January 1st of each year, staff goes out and identifies those lots that meet the threshold for requiring sidewalk to be installed. And as a reminder to the council, the threshold is, there's 2 steps. First, when we look at an undeveloped lot, we look at the phase of a subdivision that lot is in. And that phase of the subdivision, the timing of it is that after the first certificate of occupancy is issued for a new home in that phase, then there's 3 years after that before this program is triggered. So there's an automatic 3 years built in from the time the first home is constructed. The second requirement is that we look at the side of the street where the undeveloped lot is at, and if 66% of the lots on that block, on that side of the street, have sidewalk installed, then the threshold has been met. So with those in mind, we identified 9 undeveloped lots in the city on January 1st, and the owners were then notified and given until August 1st to have sidewalk installed. The owners of 6 of those 9 lots did install sidewalk, either on the undeveloped lot or actually pulled a permit to have a home constructed where the sidewalk would be built. So the 3 remaining lots were provided notice of the public hearing this evening. At the completion of the public hearing, as the mayor indicated, we do request council to make the determination if the city's to install the sidewalk. If you make that determination this evening, then we will do a confirmation resolution at your next meeting for formal consideration. And a reminder that if the council does indicate that the city will install sidewalk, no sidewalk gets installed until September 1st of 2019. So in essence, even if you say, yeah, the city's going to install the sidewalk on this lot, the owner's given a year to still either complete the sidewalk on their own or start construction of a home before the city will do anything. So it's got an automatic year extension, if you would, built into the program. We waited till September 1st because of the timing that is done. If we install the sidewalk, the timing of when we can file a special assessment to recoup those is tied into that. So we want to close the gap of how much time exists between when we pay for the installation and when the assessment is actually added. The collector will only do that 1 time a year. So that's why we use the September 1st date. But it does, again, it provides some additional time for the homeowner to do something with that undeveloped lot. So the hearings this evening, the first one deals with the Lot 80 of Edgewater's 3rd plat. The common address of this lot is 1116 Lake Crest Circle. It's owned by Carrie Doak and Robin Boyd. This is the only sidewalk segment, as illustrated on the map, that's on, I'm sorry.
Because this is being entered into the record, you should probably open the public hearing, sir.
I did
Oh, you did.
prior to
Very
the
good.
staff report. That's okay.
Okay,
Go ahead, sir.
This particular lot is identified on the map itself, is the only segment on what would be the north and the east side of Lake Crest Circle without a sidewalk segment. So most of the subdivision phase has been developed with homes. And installing a sidewalk here would provide connectivity to the sidewalk that exists along Creekmore Drive and gets residents, individuals, school children all the way over to the elementary school. So staff does feel this is an important segment to have completed for the sidewalk network. So that would conclude staff comments on Edgewater 3rd Lot 80.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions of staff at this time? If not, the public hearing is open. If someone would like to, from the audience, would like to address us on this, please state your name and address for the record and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Carrie Doak, and that's the property I'm talking about right now,
Okay.
1116 Lake Crest Circle. So we are currently having trees removed on that property, and then we've been working with the developer. That's the only access point right now the development has to get back and work on that cove. So, and they're going to do some tree removal in that. I don't have a time frame. They're talking this winter sometime. Once they're finished up with their process, because they can't get in there any other properties, then we're going to start. Then we're going to have a seawall and everything put in. Everybody we've talked to said if we put a sidewalk in, it'd be destroyed when they put the tree removal they're going to do and the work on the cove and putting our seawall in. And then when they go to build, they said it would be destroyed. So I I don't have a good time frame for when they're done. I was willing to let the development come in, and because I understand that affects me out there as well as everything else, because all our dues are fixed in. When they have to go in, it gets more expensive. We pay for it. So I told them they could do that. So I would hope that we're building by September. I don't have a guarantee because I'm at their mercy right now, and we weren't in a big hurry. So if that answers some of your questions.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Doak? Yeah, I mean, I don't have any questions at this time, sir. So, and none of the other council members do. So,
okay.
Appreciate your comments, though.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, Jim, on this particular item?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, then I would entertain a motion to dispose. I will close. You may close the public hearing on this particular item. So I will close the public hearing at this time on the Edgewater at Creekmore 3rd Plat Lot 80 and entertain a motion to dispose of this particular item.
Mr. Mayor, move that we direct staff to forward a resolution for sidewalk installation and levy for special assessment for lot Edgewater at Creekmore 3rd Plat Lot 80.
Okay.
I'll second the motion, sir.
And the motion's been made and seconded to direct staff to create a resolution to bring forward the completion of the sidewalk at that particular location, Lot 80. Any further discussion? Ms. Abdel, go ahead.
Maybe I should have asked this during the question part, but Mr. Carteret, I'm wondering, do you know anything about the work that he's referring to that they're doing on the cove back there?
I am not familiar with that. No, I have not heard that.
Okay. It seems, just kind of following up with conversation and comments, it seems that it makes sense that that would be the only access point, that it seems like it might be silly to put a sidewalk there if they're going to be driving through that lot to access to do work for the subdivision. I would kind of like to get a little more information on that maybe, and I understand we're talking a whole year out, but I also know that sometimes with weather and things that those kinds of projects can take longer than expected. So I would be willing to put this one off for a year.
Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also ask, I probably also should have asked when Mr. Doak was up here, but Mr. Carteret, is there a construction drive going through there right now? Is it just an undeveloped lot? I did not drive through and look at this ahead of time, so.
There's no specific drive there. It's an undeveloped lot. It is open enough to provide access to the back area where the tree clearing he described is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Carteret, just a clarification. So the sidewalk would actually have to go in prior to September 1st, or simply the building permit to be pulled as part of that process, which actually buys you a bit more time, if you will?
Securing the building permit, paying for the building permit prior to September 1st will alleviate the city going in and doing that work. The building permit, though, is only valid, I believe, for 6 months if no activity has started.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone? Mr. Barber. Oh, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Carteret, on looks like Kenton Lane, I'm looking at it on satellite, on Google satellite maps, but I realize depending on when they took the picture, it could be old. Is that street all the way built out along that side of the cove? Do you know? It looks like it is on our map up above, but.
I believe it is built out on Kenton, on that side of the street, yes.
So that would make it impossible for them to get through there to do the same work.
If there is a lot, it might be a corner lot with very difficult access, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Barber?
Yes, I heard Mr. Doak talk about what they're going to be doing in that area there of his lot and with the lake, but I think what since I've been on the council, this is about the third or fourth time maybe we brought this forward, and we seem to have the same issue, and we've kind of made the last go of it to say it's a minimum of a year till they have to do anything. And then if they apply for a permit, it could actually be almost a year and a half before they have to do anything. And we've kind of made a commitment to be consistent with this and not make any changes in it, because it is city code that this is required to do this. So I understand that if it gets put in before the house is developed, sometimes they have to cut a sidewalk out. On my street right now, they're having to do that from one of the roads, but that's part of city code. There wasn't really anything in code that makes any consideration for this, so that's why I went ahead and moved ahead with the motion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Holman.
One more question for Mr. Carteret. Is there any relief if an individual were to experience a unique hardship, such as the one they've described? The developer needs to get back in there and do some work. They run into significant delays because of weather or other issues. Is there any provision for coming before, say, Board of Zoning Adjustment to buy 2 months beyond what you actually need on this to carry it on out beyond what we do tonight?
There's not a specific provision in the code. If that instance were to occur and the property owner perhaps approach staff, it's something we can bring back to the council's attention for possible consideration. It's just, it's not written into the code that way, but I would think we would entertain that.
Certainly is a possibility, at least.
I think out of fairness, we can at least present it back to the council.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did you have something to add, Mr. Fearborn?
I would imagine, and Mr. Carteret, if you think differently, let me know, but in this case, the owner of the property will more than likely either contract with a builder. If a builder damages a portion of sidewalk, the builder/owner would be responsible for replacing that. If the development community, if Cooper Community is using this lot to get back into there and they damage the sidewalk, I would imagine Cooper Communities would be held responsible for replacing the sidewalk. Because that's not an internal breakage caused by the person who owns the sidewalk. That's an outside group.
Sure.
So that would eliminate, in that sort of a case, I think there would be some relief for the property owner.
Sure. Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Abdel, go ahead.
I was just going to point out that in 2014, it's noted in our packet that the council did grant a 1-year extension to some of the lots that came before the council that year. And I know in the past several years we've tried to be consistent, but we also have listened to the situations of the people who own the lots. So just sharing that bit of information.
Okay. Anyone else? Absent any other motion, there's a motion on the floor to move forward with the resolution. So I would entertain the vote at this time. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 6 yes, 1 no for the resolution to move forward, so it is approved. The second item under this particular for sidewalks on undeveloped lots is the Whitetail Run Lot number 2, 906 Kodiak Street, Green Grass Investments. We've heard a synopsis of this program from Mr. Carteret. I would open the public hearing on this particular item at this time and ask Mr. Carteret for a staff report on this particular item.
Thank you, sir. So this property is Lot 2 of the Whitetail Run subdivision. It's actually the second lot in from the entranceway there at Elk Drive. The common address of this property is 906 Kodiak Street. The property owner is Green Grass Investments Incorporated. Green Grass Investments Incorporated have been doing a lot of the construction the last couple of years in the subdivision. In fact, I believe they have 6 homes currently under construction. This would be the only undeveloped lot remaining in the subdivision where they haven't pulled a permit and started work. This particular home, because of its location, is a critical link for children in the neighborhood to have access to Elk Drive and onto the school. There's a crosswalk on 195th Street that provides access for the children from this neighborhood to get to the school. So we feel this is an important link in the subdivision. And again, it's the last undeveloped lot of the subdivision, so having sidewalk in this lot will complete the entire development for connectivity. So that would conclude staff report, sir.
Thank you, Jim. And so on the other 3 undeveloped lots, or 4 with the triangle on it, those lots do have sidewalks connecting?
They have homes under construction where sidewalk will be installed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so those are moving forward. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Holman.
I'm assuming by the name Green Grass Investments, they're some type of developer, home builder, or broker in this scenario?
Home builder.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions of staff at this time? If not, the public hearing is open. I would ask anyone that wishes to address the council on this particular item, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. I see no one from Green Grass Investments coming forward, so I will close the public hearing at this time, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we direct staff to bring forward a resolution for sidewalk installation levy for special assessment for lot Whitetail Run, Lot 2.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to move forward, to direct staff with the resolution to move forward with the completion of this particular item. So I would, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, 1 absent. And the last item under this consideration is the Whitetail Run, Lot 49, 916 Doe Drive, Green Grass Investments as well. And so I would open a public hearing at this time on this particular item and ask for a staff report on this item.
Thank you, sir. This item, the builder, Green Grass Investments, just secured a building permit since your packet was prepared. So this item can be removed from the agenda for consideration.
Okay. Mr. Zerb, can we just move on?
You may make it formal if you're so inclined to do so.
By vote? Or just move forward? I'll close the public hearing since it's going to go ahead and remove it from the agenda.
Remove from the agenda, and then just a vote to remove from the agenda on this one.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to remove this item from the agenda this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we remove the lot Whitetail Run, Lot 49 from the agenda.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded to remove this item from the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, 1 absent. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3389 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3389 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with J.R. and Company, Inc. for the Public Works Facility roof, City Project Number 18-247-201, in the amount of $192,000, $137.15.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would call on Mr. Krass to make staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Staff is bringing forward a contract to replace or re-roof the Public Works facility located on South Madison Street. The bids received are summarized in our staff report, and we do recommend award of the contract to J.R. and Company Incorporated. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? I notice there's quite a bit of swing in the bids on this one too, much like we'd had with the previous project with the Bright Construction. Can you kind of go over that a little bit, Mike?
We can go into it a little bit. We're finding a lot of the trades are extremely busy, and so we are finding that some bidders are just throwing a number at it to see if it sticks, if we, depending on what they're doing. We did query them. They did understand the scope of work. They did bid the project as specified, but I think folks are just very, very busy right now.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question, how long have we put this project off? I know it's been on the capital projects for quite a while.
It's been in the capital projects for on and off for quite a while. Different attempts have been made to seal the roof. The last time we did it, this particular company actually did an analysis of the roof and showed us a number of defects that had showed up. There are missing gaskets around the screws that are leading to the because it's a metal roof that is screwed down to the frame. So a number of the gaskets are missing, or a number of the screws have backed out. So they did a very extensive investigation and suggested the product that we are actually doing. What they're actually going to do is put a metal frame over the existing roof, put down additional insulation, which is a really good thing, especially with the heating bills we see there every winter, and then place a new standing seam roof over the top of the existing roof.
I think the reason for my question was that it's time to quit putting it off and get it done, in my opinion.
Good point. Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Hearing none, is there a motion to dispose of this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3389, award of contract Public Works Facility Roof.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3389. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3390 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3390 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the fiscal year 2018 operating budget.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Watson to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Council, during fiscal year 2018, the following expenditure items exceeded projections. The prosecuting attorney contract due to the new contract in December 2017. Police training due to sending cadets through the police academy, water tap installations due to building permits. Then also staff is requesting transfers from the court department, communications, as well as Parks and Recreation Department to the restricted revenue fund for budgeted items that will not be contracted or finalized by the end of this fiscal year. That allows us the flexibility within the restricted revenue to finalize those at a different time. And then also the Parks and Recreation Fund received an archery grant, as well as opening the Raymore Activity Fund Activity Center. And both of those items need to recognize revenues and expenditures. So all of those items have been combined together as a single budget amendment to the operating funds. And that concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? What's the overall transfer of funds or redirection? I mean, there's 8 items there. What's that kind of total to?
Roughly about $120,000.
Okay. It is spread out over several departments there.
If I could outline, sir. It represents a general fund court, a change of $13,750. General fund communications, a change of $20,382. General fund prosecutor, an add change of $1,060. General fund police, $0 because it's being transferred from one service fund to another fund within the police department. Parks and Recreation Fund for parks, change of $3,621. Parks and Rec Fund for the RAC, $4,171. Enterprise Fund Water, $46,500. And of course, the Enterprise Fund, the RAC, and the Parks Fund are all offset by a revenue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Absent any other questions, is there a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3390?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3390 budget amendment, fiscal year 2018 operating adjustments.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3390. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Now move to the item that we're done with new business. Now we'll move to public comments. If anyone in the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Nobody? Come on, somebody. Okay. All right, since we have no public comments, I will open it up to the Mayor Council communication, and I'll start with Mr. Holman tonight.
Thank you, sir. There are a number of things I could say tonight. I'd like to talk a little bit about history, conscious thought, things that we observe. On the way in tonight, I noticed the beautiful red and white impatience as I walked in the building. I noticed Mr. Ickey's gotten a recent haircut. I noticed Mr. Cataret's growing a beard. I noticed the council chamber is devoid of artwork in preparation for the employee display that's coming up. Right. There are many things on our mind. If you listen to the news, if you read the internet, you will hear much about national politics, about the president, about the recent tennis match that happened this weekend. And I've yet to hear one drop of news about tomorrow, which is the 17th anniversary of September 11th. We as Americans tend to have a very short history. The single largest loss of life on American soil, which edged out Pearl Harbor by just a little bit, our only other real major attack on American soil, and it seems like it has lost our consciousness. It has gone from our memory, with the sole exceptions probably of people like you, sir, who served overseas because of that event. I would remind everyone that the organization that declared war on our country is still active, weakened, but still active, and they are still a threat to our country, as are other organizations. I believe the Senate declared tomorrow Patriots Day at one time, but there's not even people that even remember that anymore. Take some time tomorrow to remember the loss of over 3,000 American lives that occurred 17 years ago on September 11th, 2001. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Mr. Serco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I kind of coincide with Mr. Holman. I have plans for tomorrow. I'm going to the Royals game tomorrow evening because it's Military Appreciation Night because of September 11th. I try to make it every opportunity I have every year to do different functions, different things, because we have to always remember and never forget. We got to the point where we felt comfortable. Things were going on in this country, and we did not see it coming when it was on our doorstep. And the country, it was right there, big and bold. We just didn't see it. You were just looking, paying attention to so many other things. We just got complacent. I think we just now remember that it can happen again if we're not careful. As Americans, we all got to stick together. I don't care if you're red, blue, independent, it doesn't matter. We're all Americans. We got to stick together. And tomorrow's a good day to get together and start remembering what people gave up because of a tragic situation like Mr. Holman it is, and our mayor who served because of that, overseas because of that attack. But yeah, it's a very important day. It's as important, you know, that day as it was Pearl Harbor. We remember after all these years, and we got to never forget that's an important day that our country was attacked. So many innocent people. It wasn't just a military. It was women and children and nursery. It was a horrific, horrific time, and I hope we never forget. I hope we honor that, and we honor our troops, honor our heroes, our police, our fire. They're all our heroes. They're here to protect us from everything and anything, but our troops are still fighting abroad for us. Let's remember them every day, pray for them, because they're just doing their job, and they want to come home to their families like we go home to ours. And again, for the officer who lost his life, going to a 911 call, coming back, gets caught up in the water, and he loses his life while he's doing his job, like he did every day of his life, and left a family behind. It's a sad, sad time. Let's not ever forget.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to talk about September 11th. I do expect Coach McNally to text me tomorrow morning and remind me of the time where I came and told him to shut off teaching social studies and turn on the television because history was live. But I had an opportunity to hear General Colin Powell speak this weekend, And one of the stories that he told made me think of our city. And the quote that he said was, "The more you trust your subordinates, the more they trust you." And I really kind of thought about that's how our city manager seems to employ work in the city. And the story that he told, I'll go ahead and tell because it was kind of a funny story. He said that he was in the White House talking to President Reagan. President Reagan was sitting by the fireplace where many of us have seen him before in the past, those of us that were alive then. I know the students weren't. But so he was giving him the morning briefing about what was going on in the world, and he kept noticing that the president was looking out the window over his shoulder out to the Rose Garden. And he kept going with his presentation and wondered if the president was listening. And at a certain point, President Reagan said, "Oh, good, they did get the nuts that I left for them." He was looking at the squirrels outside. And so General Powell said, you know, "Excuse me, sir, do I need to come back later, or you want me to?" He said, no, I have perfect trust that what you're telling me your problem is in your department today is going to be handled by you because you are the expert on this. And I'm listening, but I'm not worried that it's going to get done correctly. And I thought that was kind of a good story.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barber. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jay got me thinking, normally I wait till the day. I still remember on September 11th, I think we all do what we were doing that day. I had a site visit. I had a customer come in, and I was actually packed to fly to Monterey, California. And the customer that I am director of radiology, we sat and watched the first building get hit and knew something horrific had happened. And I'll just close with this. Every year I give her a call, check on her to see how she's doing. And I remember when all that went down, how one of the first things everybody did was contact their loved ones, people that they were close to. And it kind of reminds me of a saying, you know, don't wait till I die to get me flowers. You know, if you care for me now, get them for me today. So don't get me any flowers, though. I don't like flowers. But anyway, enough with that, and that is an important day not to forget. But Mr. Cataract, I always like hearing your reports, and it sounds like you're going to be quite busy, which I kind of like that too. In fact, it looks like you're so busy you're not able to shave in the morning. So I want to hear the home starts, you know, everything you got going on. But yeah, you know, and it looks good, by the way. I like it. So thank you.
Ms. Abdelwad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what the previous council members have said about remembering September 11th. I don't know if it helps any. I heard mention of it and things happening tomorrow on 2 different radio stations this morning. So I think that it is out there. People are remembering, maybe not quite as much as we once did, and maybe we need to be reminded. On a different note, I just want to thank the 3 different chapters of the Daughters of Revolution for coming and recognizing Constitution Week. That's a great way to recognize the freedoms that we have in our country. Again, supporting the remembrance of 9/11. I also want to thank the Ray Peck Sunrise Optimist Club for recognizing Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and for their support of Camp Quality. I worked really closely with a family when I did Parents as Teachers who had a daughter who had been diagnosed with cancer and goes every year, thankfully, to Camp Quality as a cancer survivor. And so that's beneficial for the kiddos who are suffering and getting treatment, but also it's beneficial for those who are considered cancer survivors. My third thing on my list is just a reminder about community conversations, October 1st at Centerview. I want to personally invite the students that are in the audience. We get lots of adults that want to come and share their opinions, but this is your city also. So if you're not busy on October 1st, write that on your calendar, invite your friends. We'd love to hear the viewpoint from everyone across all ages in our community. So we'd invite you guys to come and share that with your friends, invite them to come too. You can have maybe even your own table. You wouldn't have to sit with the old people if you didn't want. And then my fourth one is Farmers Market. Farmers Market, we have just 3 more weeks. So invite you to come and see us every week that we have left of the farmers market. We'll have city council members there. So if you have something you'd like to share with us or just want to have some conversation with the council, come see us at the farmers market on Tuesdays. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody for mentioning 9/11 and regaling us with their stories about that. Let us not forget what happened on September 11th. I'd also like to thank the Daughters of the American Revolution for coming out tonight. It was pretty fun to see them here. Amazing that that organization's been around for 231 years. So again, that was great to see them here. It's also astounding that that document has lasted. The Constitution has been around for 232 years. I hope and I pray that it will continue to serve this nation as our protector of our citizens and its rights. And that was all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too echo the comments and sentiments of our council members tonight with respect to tomorrow, 9/11. I've also remembered the day and actually where I was and what was going on. I was actually stationed in California, but was on duty in Camp Lejeune, and we're on a lunch break, and all of a sudden we're turning the TV on, we're seeing this, and seeing that action and seeing that activity, being scared, being concerned about what's going on, but then at the same time being around a lot of Marines, it was that instant, we got to go do something and protect this nation. So that was an interesting time. And then the call to duty that happened since then, of all the different young people who volunteered to serve in light of that, and have been volunteering ever since then, which is a testament to the true patriotism of all the citizens, all the young children and young kids who step up to answer the call to serve this country. For those who don't necessarily serve in the military, but have served in different capacities, whether they serve in the police force, on EMT, because they also served and lost their lives on that day as well. And they have continued to recruit and enrich their ranks from individuals who've answered that call and continue to serve in different capacities, whether it be in the military, whether it be in civic duty, or whether it be in some sort of political aspect, that they sought to enrich this country with their diverse views. So that's a testament and encouraging to see all those who have answered the call, and also as we remember tomorrow. I also want to echo with regards to the farmers market. I had Ward 1 was last week. That was exciting to get out there and listen to the different residents come out, and not just residents, just people in general. I actually was able to recruit someone from Harrisonville to come to our October 1st meeting because they were interested in it, so excellent. We're getting more voices because he was interested in our farmers market as opposed to the Harrisonville one. He comes to this one regularly. So I said, bring more friends to the farmers markets. We have a lot of space available for that. And it was interesting as well, if you haven't been, to go, because apparently every week there's live music. And we had live music that night. It was a nice evening, and apparently it's supposed to be nice weather tomorrow night. And it made the evening go by very fast. I didn't even realize we were out there as long as we were because of the nice, enjoyable music that was around. And some of the vendors brought over some apples and oranges and things, not oranges, but some apples for us to enjoy for Mr. Kellogg and I in his absence. But that was a very enjoyable evening. It's a nice time. So you haven't been to the farmer's market to shop, but just to also enjoy the evening, because it is a nice park, and there's more to come for the T.B. Hanna Station as well. To Mr. Cataract, I did have an opportunity to go to the Good Neighbors meeting for the Van Trust with the North Cass Parkway development that's on the docket. Very interesting evening. It was a lot of good number of concerned citizens that were there that night. It was interesting to hear the conversation directly from the citizens, so the developer was able to take that back and work some, hopefully they're taking that to heart, and when they come before the Planning and Zoning Committee, they're bringing forth a plan to address some of the concerns that the citizens had, so that was excellent. And we encourage citizens to also come out and do the same for the Fox Ridge, to listen to the presentation from the developer and voice your concerns. So that is a part of this democracy that we enjoy, to be able to have that opportunity. And to the students here this evening, I know Mr. Holman usually does a recap. I'm not going to attempt to recap tonight because he does a good job of that, but I would say for the RAPAC students who are here from the American Government class, I believe it is, it doesn't stop, because my daughter's here tonight from Rockhurst for her class project tonight. So keep going at it, keep having fun, and keep doing well. And whatever you do, whatever path life takes you, do your best, be the best that you can be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Great message, sir. Thank you so much. You know, 17 years ago, Captain Wilson, who was a detective at the time, he and I had just talked about the activities of the weekend, of the prior weekend, when dispatch hollered out we should come in there as they had the news on in dispatch. This was over in the old building. And I can remember thinking at the time, the day before that, I had just assumed command of the Joint Intelligence Center Transportation unit, reserve unit at Scott Air Force Base, 60 people under my command. And within 24 hours of me being the commander of that unit, I was sending people all over the world. It was a strange setting to be not only as police chief here and seeing what we were doing to prepare ourselves for a potential internal attack, and then what I was having to do with as commander of that unit and where those intelligence officers were going to be stationed in harm's way. It was a time I'll never forget. That's for sure. And then a couple of other times called up and tapped myself. Actually, the first one, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I went to the Pentagon. It was in November of 2001. And just in that short period of time between September 11th and my arrival the day after Thanksgiving, I think it was the 25th of November, they had already removed the section of the Pentagon that had been damaged by the crash. I mean, it was kind of like, you know, you watch these shows on HGTV where they do the demolition very quickly. It was almost like they'd done the demolition of that section of the Pentagon 24/7 for 2 months, and it was cleared out. And then they began immediately construction and was opened again within a year. So the American spirit and the American work ethic was phenomenal in that situation. And of course, as you see, there are men and women today that are still losing their lives over the toxic environment they worked in at the ground zero. And it is something we should never forget. And I really do appreciate Mr. Holman saying it so eloquently, much better than what I could have said about the remembrance of that event. But there are incidents or things that occurred immediately following that are seared in my memory, that's for sure. And I hope many of you that might not have been around at the time that it happened will pay attention to the history of that particular event and how that unfolded, because it is necessary that we do remember that. And I do appreciate those that have a moment to commemorate that, not a moment of celebration, but a moment of commemoration for those lives lost. And that will conclude my comments for this evening, and I would ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters in accord with RSMO 610.021, subsection 3.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session. Can I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
Councilmember Serko?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Kellogg absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Thank you. We will now go into executive session, and when executive session's over, we will adjourn back to regular session to adjourn from the regular session. Thank you.